Hello my friends, welcome back to another tutorial. Okay, this week I am going to paint a nice little sunset on a beach with some rocks. Lovely colour. It's just something that really caught my eye when I was kind of flicking through my gallery for things to paint. Also on Patreon I will be this week painting this beautiful flowers with a butterfly landing on them. And we took a vote, and you know, all my friends on Patreon, you voted, and there was a lot of you in favor for this photograph. So I am going to paint this, and I will also paint another one for you from the selection. So if you're interested, pop over to Patreon, take a look, and there's lots going on over there, and it's just a great way of supporting me in the efforts of all this painting. So thank you so much for your support, and the patrons, thank you so much as well for helping me choose what subject we're painting. I think it's great to get people involved. So there is 2 or 3 on my Patreon page which I'm going to paint. Okay, starting from the most popular. But in the meantime, this week for YouTube, I am painting a lovely little sunset on a very wide little canvas here. It's 20 by 8 canvas, primed once, sanded lightly with very fine sandpaper, and that's it. It's good to go. I've my colours ready. Let's go and have a bit of fun with this. Something nice and colourful, and I think it's really going to look really nice in a frame hanging on a wall. So grab your stuff if you wish to follow me along, and let's have some fun with this. Don't go anywhere. Okay my friends, here we go. Now you should see the reference photograph around there somewhere. I have the palette set up slightly differently because I have a wide canvas, so I can fit everything then just into the one shot. Do you understand what I mean? So without further ado, I'm going to put a little masking tape on this. Now, isn't that a beautiful picture? The colours are just wonderful, and I may just make them slightly warmer, but I particularly love the reflections on the sand. I think that's going to just be fantastic when it's finished. I hope it will. So let's try it and see. Let's see if we can create this beautiful painting quite easily. All right, and look, I'm going to take my time. You know, I don't like to rush too much, so it may take 2 tutorials. We will see as we go. Yes, let's just paint it and see as we go what we think. You know, there's a lot of work, even though it's a small enough canvas. There's a lot of detail in this painting, a lot of work, and I just want to take my time and do it nicely. I hope you understand. So okay, I'm going to get a brush. I'll take a medium flat kind of a brush. Okay, something medium. Let me find a nice little medium brush now. Something, I don't want something very hard. A lot of these brushes that I have are quite well used, so they kind of lose their bounce and they lose a little bit of their softness. I want a nice soft brush. Let me just see what I have. Let me see. Okay, I have a nice one here. I think I'll try this. I'll go with this for now. Yes, I have some turpentine with a little linseed oil. Okay, and some tissue paper, and I better tell you what colours I have as well. I have titanium white, Naples yellow, cadmium yellow pale, phaylo blue, lamp black, alizarin crimson, magenta, cadmium red, and burnt umber. A nice colourful palette today. Lots of colour. Let's dampen our brushes. I'm going to dampen my brush, and I'm going to put a very pale blue in up there. Now, I was going to use cobalt for that sky up there. I think phaylo might be a bit strong, but look, let's just try and warm it slightly. Let's take some phaylo, a little phaylo, a tiny amount, and let's take lots of white in that. Okay, I'm making a very soft, warm kind of a blue. Okay, I don't want to go cool with this because a sunset will have a kind of a warm blue. It looks quite cool on the picture, if you can see it there. I might kind of make it slightly warmer. Now, even that is fine, but I think a hint, just a hint of cadmium red might do this the world of good. Okay, just for that blue. So let me mix. So now I have a very kind of a soft, warm sky blue. I think that's fine. Okay, I'm going to go with that. Let's go, and you can see the way the paint now is moving across my canvas lovely, because I primed it once, and that bit of primer really does help. It just takes the dryness out of a raw canvas when you buy it. So if you buy a canvas, a kind of a cheapish canvas, I don't use very expensive canvases because I can get these sizes in relatively cheap canvases, all right? So then I prime them. But if they're not primed, you'll find they're really dry and rough. When you take them out of the plastic, they're very dry and they soak in the paint. I think one coat of clear, of just white undercoat will make a huge, huge difference when you're painting. And look, it goes very far, the undercoat, all right? So don't worry about cost. I even dilute my undercoat slightly with a little bit of thinners as well. So one thin coat all the way across very quickly, and that's plenty. That's all I need. Okay, so I'm going to add a tiny touch of the red into it as it comes down, just to make it easier for the transition, okay, between the yellows and blues. Now we have a lot of clouds in between those two, but I'm still going to just put a hint of it just across the bottom of that blue. I don't want pure blue. I hope you can see this okay now on your camera there, on this camera. I've been using my phone for the past couple of weeks for recording because the quality is very good and the lighting is very good on the phone. So I'm going to stick with it for now. It's a very good quality camera. Right, I am next going to put this brush down because we have blue on this. Blue is not our friend when it comes to yellow. I'm going to move on to another medium soft brush. Look, a synthetic brush. I'm going to mix a very warm yellow for these. And I think just dampen the brush and dry it. We don't need too many thinners in this. It's really probably 90% dry, okay? Let's take some cadmium yellow. Lovely, rich cadmium yellow. And into that, I'm going to take a hint of cadmium red. Okay? And just take little bits as you go. Don't go crazy and pick up loads and loads of colour at the beginning. Just take your time, all right? Take your time. Let's try this. Now, a little bit more thinners, I think, just in that. And let's take a lot more paint. Let's fill our brush with nice, plenty of paint, okay? There we go. Now, it's quite thin. It's not very thin, okay? But it's nice and thin. It's just thinned out. And I have a nice kind of an orangey hue there, don't I? Kind of a yellowy orange. And the thing about yellows and oranges is that they're very luminous and they're very translucent. What that means is, if you hear someone saying translucent in a painting, it means the canvas shows right through, okay? They don't cover well. So what I would do now, you see the way that's very sort of translucent, okay? Very rich and bright and vibrant and it's showing through. I will tone that down with a hint of Naples yellow first, right? So let's just take some Naples yellow in this. Now the Naples yellow will help cover much better. I'm going to go right across there. More Naples yellow. Because the Naples yellow is a very thick colour. It's a very thick, opaque colour. And it'll give you wonderful coverage. So I'm then going to take some cadmium red and some Naples yellow. So we now have a very thick pasty, kind of a pinky colour. And I'm mixing it with the yellow. You see that? It's kind of mixing together slightly. And on the outside edges I want to darken that, okay? Again, some cadmium red, cadmium yellow. And look, if you wanted, you can even take a hint of crimson as well. We don't have it on the photograph, but I think it would be nice just along the edges, just to give it a little bit of darkness from the outsides inwards, okay? Just the outsides in. And that will really show off our sun in the middle then. So just like that, soften it across very gently from the outsides. As it comes down, I'm going to darken it slightly towards the horizon. I'm going to take a little hint of, let me see. I'll try a hint of burnt umber and a tiny hint of magenta, okay? So I'm going for a kind of a browny pink in this. Just towards the bottom, I want to just deepen it slightly. Just go over your masking tape and just soften it slightly and upwards, okay? Now this may seem a little extreme, I know, but don't worry, it will be worth it. You'll see what I mean when I take off the masking tape later. Right, let's just quickly rinse that brush. Just give it a dip in your turpentine, rub it on the tissue, and I'm now going to, with the same brush, put in these wonderful plum clouds, okay? So let's make a nice plum. Let's take some crimson, some phaylo blue. Now, more crimson in this, okay? Just a hint of blue. We don't want it on the bluey side. Now, that's more on the bluey side. I'm going to want it more on the warm side of that. And I need to get some Naples yellow. We're then going to add a little touch of Naples yellow to soften that kind of pinky purple, all right? So then take a little hint of Naples yellow and soften that in there. Look at that. Also, you notice they're quite pale. They're quite soft, aren't they? So look, let's just keep taking lots of Naples yellow. And that really makes the colour nice and creamy and soft and pasty. So let's just check it now. So we have that colour in. I'm now going to mix that colour across the top of the yellow first, right? Just like that. I won't go all the way. What that allows us to do then is to transition from the yellow to the blue without getting greens in between. Do you understand? So that's why I went more on the pink side. So more pink will stop anything going green, you see what I mean? So you can then kind of mix it, and then let's just suggest one or two little clouds as it comes up. And now I'm going to soften it down into that yellow as well. So you see I'm picking up hints of the yellow and I'm popping them up slightly. So I'm kind of almost mixing the two together where they meet. So you can sort of see now what I mean. We don't have any greens and we have a nice transition from one to the other. So now with this one over here, you can see we have some clouds sort of flicking up at an angle like that. And this is just the early stages now, okay? I will be adding some darks and lights and all that kind of thing into these. But I just want to get this nice transition. I'm going to leave the center, okay? Because we're going to warm the center in a moment. Let's get some more of that. And I just want to kind of bring it down and just allow that to kind of soften across, create a nice deep line just across the bottom of that yellow there, okay? Like that. Already you can start to see the colours come to life. Let's mix more. Crimson, a little blue, again more crimson and some Naples yellow. Naples yellow with crimson really does make a fantastic, beautiful, soft kind of a pinky hue. It really does. Let's get some more of that up there. I like that now, that's nice. And I'm just going to sort of maybe cool them slightly as they come up, because as it comes up into the blue, it sort of cools slightly and gets slightly deeper, doesn't it? So look, just wiggle the brush along like that, creating little tiny clouds. It's just a suggestion of some clouds, okay? That's all. And a couple up like that, going up at an angle. Okay, let's go off to this side. Pop some nice warm ones in. Okay, then I'm going to start cooling it slightly as it comes up. Take some of that light blue, pop some of the light blue into it. So now we have a soft, cool kind of a mauve, all right? And let's pop little hints of that around here and there. You can see the way it's sort of going off in a direction, a particular direction, kind of almost up at this kind of an angle. Everything comes up at a slight angle, doesn't it? And I'm using the corner of a brush to literally just allow little dabs of colour to come off of the brush as I'm going. You see that? Little dabs. And we're going to soften this as well, so don't be worried about brush strokes and all that kind of thing. This will all be nice and soft when we're finished. Now, nice bit of dark colour down there. Okay. Again, sit back, take a look. Okay, I like that. I'm happy with that. Get some more of the blue, a little pink. Tiny, tiny amounts of the blue as you go. Just to kind of cool the colour down slightly, okay? That's kind of, that's the trick, that's what I find. Just adding tiny little hints of blue as you go. Soften that very carefully, not to go into greens. You Again, I pop one or two, just little, suggesting the direction of the clouds coming up at an angle, like that, okay? And going out of the painting, like so. Now, we have lovely rich colours in the middle, don't we? So I'm going to just give that a wipe on some tissue with some thinners, and I'm going to make a nice, really rich orange, just for this side of the clouds here, okay? Just to soften into the centre. So again, I'm going to mix a plum, but I'm going to mix a very warm, rich, orangey plum. Crimson, phthalo blue, some cadmium red. Let's go with some cadmium red this time. I'll take the tiniest hint of cadmium yellow. Just a hint. Now you could just use cadmium yellow and cadmium red if you want. It's pretty much the same, okay? And I'm going to just start softening some of that into these plum clouds here, okay? Now even more cadmium red. And the idea is to suggest that the sun is hitting those warm clouds on that side, just where the sun is coming right through there. So a little hint of a red or something like that, a red or an orange or something, just around the center will help you suggest that there's sun hitting on those clouds just there, okay? It really does work. Now while I have this color on, I'm going to pop a couple of clouds in the distance here, look. Little horizontal clouds. Because they're so far away, they will always be horizontal. Like that, you see? Just little horizontal strips going across. Not too much, just one or two. And that will just suggest little horizontal clouds off in the distance. So I'm going to put in some nice warm oranges in here. I need to clean my brush. Let's give this a real good clean, and I'm going to mix a very warm, rich, yellowy orange. Some cadmium yellow and a little cadmium red. And let me just check this now. Okay, I'll put that nice warm orange just around the sun. So the sun is in the middle. This is going to be just around the sun, okay? Now I want to soften this into those orangey clouds, the red clouds I put up. So I'm going to just hit the edges of some of those with some of this nice rich, dark kind of an orange, okay? And again, the idea is just to create that sort of glow around the center. Little bit up there, and there'll be kind of a little bit flicking through some of these clouds. Just here and there. You see that? Now I'll dry my brush, and I'm just gently going to soften some of that outwards and inwards, okay? Just soften it out very slightly. The next step is to take a soft brush. I have a nice soft brush here. I'm just going to go over this very, very gently. I'm going to pull these clouds upwards at that angle. You see the angle I'm going? Up like that, okay? And across flat at the bottom. Now I think that's doing pretty nicely so far, isn't it? Nice, rich sky. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to take a small flat brush. Nice little flat brush we have here. This is a new flat brush. A small stubby will do just fine as well, provided it's nice and sharp, okay? And I'm going to get some white. And I might take a touch of cadmium yellow. No, not cadmium yellow, a touch of Naples yellow. I just really want to brighten the white up slightly, give it a slightly creamy, yellowy hue, okay? And then, what I'm going to do is just flick a couple of hints of this nice bright white through here and there to suggest just some kind of white clouds up in the sky, catching some of that sunlight, okay? They're just up there hanging out, catching some of the sun. You see what I mean? Now, I don't know if you can see that or not, but I'm just popping little touches of that colour in here and there. I'll take some more naples. We can add quite a bit of naples into this, and that little bit of naples will give you the highlight from the sun as well. Perhaps one or two just darting around out there. And perhaps even one or two going off out of the painting as well. And it's really just a suggestion, okay? Just a very, very light suggestion of some nice bright clouds catching some sunshine up there. Now we can put quite a little few bits around the middle, oh, just on this side of the sun, I think, just there. We can, there's quite a few around in here. Okay, now I won't go absolutely crazy with all of this, but I do want to pop some nice lights in here and there. Also, I could maybe add one or two just around in between some of these as well, just to give them a bit more definition, as they say. Just like that, okay? And you could give them some shadow. So maybe on the top sides, because of course the sun is coming from the bottom and hitting the bottom of the clouds. So up on the top edges, you could just get a little plum and put a little plum colour around some of the top edges of those, okay? Just to give the impression of them catching some bit of shade up there. Little touches of shadow here and there like that, okay? Now, that's 90% of the sky done. The next piece of the puzzle is I want to get some very rich yellows in here. I'm going to use the same small flat brush, okay, because it's quite nice. I like using this brush. And if you have a brush that you really love to use, then use it. I normally would use something slightly wider than this, but I think for now, in this moment in time, this beautiful little soft brush is just doing wonders. So I'm going to stick with this. I'm mixing lots of cadmium yellow with a little cadmium red. Okay, I'll start with this slightly darker shade first. I just want to kind of re-emphasize some of that richness in there. Look, just pop a little touch of it in here and there. Just make it nice and warm, and even drag it across here a little. So now the colours are really coming out, aren't they? They're really coming to life. I'll take more cadmium red and more cadmium yellow. It's really a dark, dark orange. Lots of thick paint now in this, okay? And I'm going to go up here and I'm going to pop some of that across over some of those plum coloured clouds. So it's more on the red, okay? A little bit across the bottom of that cloud over there. You can see now it's kind of really springing into life, isn't it? I'll pop a little over here across some of those clouds. Nice, rich, reddy kind of an orange colour, okay? Pop some across here. And I'm really just trying to kind of catch a certain effect. Do you understand? That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to create this certain effect that's on that photograph, this kind of warmth across the clouds. You know what I mean? Just that little warmth, just here and there. You see it. Now again, I'm going to sit back, and I'm quite happy with that. Next, a bright splash of bright yellow right in the middle for that sun. Let's get some cadmium yellow pale and some white. Let's hope this really jumps off of the canvas. I'm going to go slightly, it's kind of slightly off center, isn't it? So I'm going to start with this and just soften some of this outwards first. Okay, just like that. I always tend to start with a slightly darker colour and work my way up to a very bright colour. It's just easier, I find. Okay, let's go again. And I'm just using paint, nothing else, okay? Just paint. We'll come up here and pop some of that in around up here. Okay, just leave it soften away. Now you don't have to go to these extreme lengths if you're nervous about yellows with blues and all that kind of thing, okay? You really don't. You can just keep it simple. Just simplify it. But I'm really going to give this a good go now, this painting, because I think this may look stunning when it's finished. If I really take my time and do a nice job, I think we'll be on to a winner, my friends. This could be the tutorial of the year, perhaps. Now, let's go lighter, just dragging some light across, and I'm building up the thickness of my paint as well as I go. Okay? More light colour. And it's good to leave brush strokes, you see, just little tiny brush strokes. It's quite good to leave some of those from time to time. It just emphasises clouds in the distance. So now we're really brightening up in the middle there, aren't we? Next, I'm going to perhaps take just yellow on its own. I just want to try something. Just want to try a little yellow on its own, just here and there, just to accentuate the brightness and the richness of that sun. And I think for the very middle, for that bright sun, I'm thinking just white. Would that be correct? Now, I'm no expert at painting suns, bright suns, but I would say almost 90% white in this. So let's just paint first a little circle, okay, like this. Now, my circles aren't fantastic, I'll be honest. And I'm having trouble with the paint being so thick. So I may have to go over this once it's dry. That's just not behaving, is it? Let's get some white again and try it. My hands are very shaky, I can tell you that. Okay, that's not bad there. And then soften the outside edge very slightly in. Maybe just with a fine pointy brush, we could just go around the edge as well, just to soften it outwards. This brush is kind of catching the paint a little bit too much, but I think for that it's not too bad, I suppose, at the moment. And that's the thing with painting lots of thick paint, with lots of thick paint on a canvas. Trying to get things like this can be tricky, but we can add little splashes of white into that later on, okay? There's no panic. Now will I take my small brush and perhaps soften some of those in, and maybe even around the sun, perhaps just a little. And I can go back then later and pop more in. All right. But I think we have the general sky finished. Let's move on. Let's remove our tape. And let's get down here and get this wonderful sea in. I'm going to do a very quick sketch just for the wave splashing across there. It goes up at a slight angle. That helps to give us a little perspective like that, you see. The beach, I'm going to bring it up slightly higher because I like it so much. And I'm going to go down and around in a curve like that. Okay. And then the rocks come down at an angle like this, up like that, and then just roughly like this. Yes? Would you agree? Yes, We have other rocks there. We can leave those, or maybe we can just put them in actually. Let's just put a suggestion of that rock in like that. Okay, my friends, let's go. Let's go and get this on. I'm going to clean my flat brush. And also I'm going to turn my tissue because, you see that? It does get quite dark, so turn it. It does get quite messy. Give it a good turn every now and then, and even change your turpentine if you like. Let's get this ocean in. I'm going to go for a nice rich dark plum colour, okay? I'll take crimson, phaylo blue, and I'm going to need a lot of this now, so let's get plenty. Phaylo blue, lots of crimson, even some cadmium red. And then, to soften that out, I'm going to take some Naples yellow. And let's just keep looking back now and forward at our photograph until we think we have the colour. Let's get more blue. And I want this nice and dark up at the top. And that will really, we'll get a beautiful contrast from the sky to the ocean. A little bit more blue, I think. And I think let's try that. Okay, so the trick about getting a nice straight line is leaning hard on your brush. Just like that. Now I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to do the same on the other side. I go from around here. Okay, a little bit up there, but that doesn't matter. The frame will cover that. I'll just fill that in very quickly. I'm going to start taking more blue and a little white, because you can see it does get quite bright as it comes down. So the darkness is really only by the horizon, isn't it? Now I'll stop there because we have lots of yellow in the middle, so I'm going to stop there and I'm going to do the same on this side. So now we have two sides, don't we? Then I'm going to really put in some nice warm pink towards the middle. I'll go with some cadmium red, little crimson, and some Naples yellow. Just for now, let's just keep adding Naples yellow. I'll avoid the white because the white makes it very pasty. It loses the colour, whereas Naples yellow will kind of keep the colour a little better. A little bit of pink across. Just like that. Soften it down. Now the next thing I'm going to do is soften that into those two colours there, okay? So you're picking up the colours now, you're moving colours around. You see now, isn't that a beautiful kind of transition there? The way they merge together. And now we have a nice little colour here to put our lovely yellows on. A nice kind of a light pink, well not a light pink, a dark pink in which to put yellows on top of. But before we do that, I'm now going to lighten with some light blue all of this ocean, okay? I'm going to take some white, and I'm going to take some phthalo blue, and I'm going to take a little crimson. And we didn't even need the magenta really today. I don't think we needed it. We might use it for the waves later on, but I think in general we got away without that magenta. So let me get some more blue. It's almost like kind of a luminous light blue. So a little phthalo blue with white and a little pink, okay? I'm leaving that dark line up on top. I like that. I'll do the same over here. It does get quite light as it comes across. I'm going to add some light pink in over here. Naples yellow with some crimson and maybe a little white. So you see, I tend to put on base colours and then work in light colours. That seems to work for me. And you can see behind this wave over here, there's a nice bright, a very light colour. I'm just going to pop a little white in across behind that. Remember, always horizontal with your colours, okay? And with your brush strokes. Always horizontal when painting the ocean. Try to go horizontal. Okay, we're lightening, you see? It's getting lighter and lighter and lighter, isn't it? Now, I think I'll put even more lighter colour on this. So I'm taking my time with this now. I want to do it nice and I don't want to rush. This would make it much easier for you to follow me along, I would think. Little blue and some white. I'm just going to leave it kind of hit and miss. So I'm creating, almost like creating the waves, the motion and the movement of the ocean. You see? Just kind of little flicks here and there, let it hit and miss as you go. There we go. Like that. Right. We then have some rich, warm colour for our sun, don't we? And I may start with some nice, rich, reddy oranges first. Okay? Let's get some cadmium red. Go into this lovely orange that we already made here. Again, this is just to help to avoid any greens on our canvas. We'll pop some of that orange in just here and there. And you can probably see it may start to go even a little muddy already. So let's take more crimson. Let's go with some crimson and Naples yellow. I think for a start, that would be a nice colour to neutralise any greens. I'm just rubbing this lightly over that blue. Bring it outwards just slightly. So I'm slowly getting rid of the blue just here, okay? So now we've more of a pinky kind of a blue. I don't know if you can see that now or not, but it's there. Some more pink, some more Naples yellow. Let it disappear off. Then I'm going to start putting some rich, so I'm going to start with the darkest shades, you see, and work up. So next I'm going to start making a rich, warm orange. Okay, crimson, cadmium yellow. I think we'll go with those two. And for this one, there's going to be a lot more crimson in the mix. So you can see that now. I don't know if you can see when I'm mixing there. It's a really rich, dark orange. I'm going to start with that colour, just on the horizon line, and allow it to just kind of disappear outwards ever so slightly. Okay, now if you think you have little hints of green starting to come on your blue, just take some more crimson and pop some more crimson on that, okay? I just want to start with this deep, deep shade of orange first. It's really a reddy orange is what I have. Now I'm going to soften them ever so slightly outwards, like that. Then I'm going to start going into some more yellowy colours. So I've cleaned my brush, then I'm going to pick up a lot more cadmium yellow. So I have a lot of cadmium yellow with just a hint of that pinky colour then, okay? So now a lot more yellowy, mustardy kind of a colour, shall we say. I'm just going to kind of drag my brush across over that. So now the idea is we just start getting lighter and lighter with our colours, okay? Let them soften out, drag them. I'm barely touching the canvas. See? Barely. Now the next step, the last step I'm going to do is use my palette knife to create this lovely ripple effect on the ocean. Okay? I'm going to take this palette knife here, and I need to get some cadmium yellow, my friends. Now, isn't this turning out lovely? I must say I'm happy with it so far. Let's take some cadmium yellow and let's go in here and mix it into that little bit of orange that we had. So the idea now is to have lots of thick paint on your knife, just on the edge of your knife there like this, okay? And let's simply let the canvas drag it off. So you're not putting it on the canvas is dragging the paint off of your knife. That's the idea. I'm just swishing my knife right across the canvas here and there, letting the canvas do the work. Okay? Make the canvas do the work for you. And as it comes down further, it kind of tapers outwards. Can you see that on the photograph? So I'm going to just leave it taper, dab, dab, dab here and there on the canvas as it comes down. Okay? So that is one of our passes. We're then going to do it again with a brighter colour, a very whitey yellow. Let's take cadmium yellow and some white. Give those a quick mix. We don't want it too white, okay? Just a very vibrant yellow. And drag some of that off at the corner of your knife. And let's just add a couple of those really bright ones. Isn't that lovely? Now, I'll try not to overdo it. I think that's quite nice. So, I think, are we finished part one? Should we call this part one finished? We're at 40 minutes. I think that's a nice length of time for a tutorial, don't you? I think it is. Now, when we come back, I might drag some sun colour down, some sun rays. I don't know, could I do it now? Will I try it? My biggest fear is just ruining what we've done. Isn't that always the fear that you would have? Ruining everything that you've done. I'm going to put some of this yellow in the middle for my sun, right? Let me just try this now first and see. I'm not sure if this is going to work now. Let me just get that like that first. You see, if I drag that down, I'm just going to really drag some solid marks. So I think I leave it, and let me just soften this out first into my white, okay? And I'll be honest, I'm not the greatest at painting suns and all that kind of thing. I'm sure if I practice I will get good, but I was never the greatest at doing it, to be quite honest. I think I might try some of the orange. Some of this deep, deep orange. And we see, can I... You know what, I won't. I think I'll leave it, because for fear of ruining what I have, I think I should just probably leave it. It's fine. I think it's fine as it is. This is much easier with acrylics because acrylics will dry so fast. But when this is dry, we can always just bring some colour down over the dry colours. I think that would be much easier. So let's leave it, I think, as it is. We call this part one finished, my friends. Let me turn this camera here. Let me see if I can turn around here now without destroying the video. I call that part 1 finished. Okay, I'll be right back with part 2. Thank you so much. It's coming on nice. I think once we get down the canvas now, it's really going to come to life. And I will add a little more movement on that ocean as well. So yes, do join me in part 2. Thank you so much. I will see you very, very soon, my friends. God bless.